All right, so I probably did this video before. My channel's been up for like 12 years. I'm running out of material and content. But so we're going to do like a little investigation tonight. It's a little story time. We're going to find out when these were made, these watches, and how old they are and any information about them. Okay, first the story. Okay, so about 4 or 5 years ago, when I was not agoraphobic and actually left the house, I had a job. And I worked at, don't laugh, yes, Petco. And I worked for Petco, and people knew I liked antiques. So customers would come in the store, and they would actually tell me things about antiques. They would actually bring antiques over to my register. I shit you not. And they would, one person brought in a giant painting one day into Petco and came to the register to ask me what it was worth and any information about it. So people would actually use me as their appraisal person. And so one day a customer came in and said, "Oh, across the street from me, there's a neighbor that just died, this elderly man. And he was an antiques dealer and a guy that fixed watches. And his family, and by the way, he was a World War II veteran, his family is throwing out all of his items into the garbage. Actually, they rented a dumpster. And they said, you better get your ass there because they're throwing lots of old things out." And so, not one to actually turn away something interesting like that. I wasn't getting off of work until about 11 p.m. And I was like, well, shit. So, and it started pouring out. And I said, oh no, all the antiques that are in that dumpster are going to get ruined. And I don't like going into dumpsters. It was my first dumpster dive. And so I got to this person's house using my phone's flashlight. I climbed into the dumpster with a coworker of mine who didn't give a rat's ass basically about antiques, but was a young teenage kid that was up for an adventure. And I had him hold my phone. Well, first, I had him clasp his two hands together and give me a hoist into the dumpster, which by now turned into a swimming pool. Nobody was living in that house. There was no lights on the block. It was completely dark. And I dived into a dumpster pool filled with probably radioactive water. And so it was filled to the brim and I could not see. So I was feeling around and yes, something poked me in the hand and I was afraid I was going to catch AIDS. And so I was just by feel sticking my hand into this dumpster. I did see World War II shit, but they were destroyed by this point. There was World War II uniforms, World War II photos, all sorts of World War II medals that were completely destroyed. But this was in a plastic case and I pulled it out. And in it was a bunch of watches, two being Rolexes. No, not Rolex, but Rolexes. They were actually fake Rolexes. And I was like, at first, holy shit, I got Rolex watches. And yeah, I did some Googling and I found that they weren't Rolex watches. But nonetheless, I kept them anyway. They're somewhere in my house somewhere. And there was hundreds and hundreds of watch bands, like metal and leather watch bands from the 30s all the way through the 70s. Major name brands, along with the Japanese brands such as Seiko and stuff like that, and Timex and all that other jazz. And so I grabbed those. Those were okay. They were in a case, thank goodness. And along with hundreds of brand new and vintage watch parts and watch making repair machines that were vintage and old. Those I did not take, sadly. I thought they were worthless, but now I'm finding out they have value. Lots of watchmaking tools. Okay, so these two are my favorite out of the whole entire thing. The rest I put in my antique shop, and believe it or not, I didn't know the value of watch bands, vintage or old watch bands, and I put a price tag of $5 on each one of them. I had over 100 of them, and within 2 weeks, they all sold out. So I guess the people that fix old or vintage watches snatch them up. As a matter of fact, the lady that runs the antique shop told me one man came in and bought 30 of them. And yeah, okay, so now what do we have here? Okay, I don't know. You tell me. So let's take a look. Okay, so we have this really neat mesh looking band. Is it gold? Is it platinum? Is it silver? The answer is I don't know really, except for the fact that we have some marking on the back. And let's try to read it. Oops, it's upside down. And it says, well, what the hell does it say? Because I'm blind. Oh, Gruen. Gruen, 10 karat rolled gold plated bezel, stainless back. Okay, so this is a stainless back But what is the band made out of? I don't know. Do you know? Write in the comments below. We have what appears to be this really cool design. How old is it? Let's check out the face. And generally the faces are pretty much toast on these old watches. Let's get in there tight. And if my hands will stay still, no, I'm not a drunk. I'm not having withdrawals from alcohol. It's called anxiety. And it says Gruen. And we have the 12 o'clock mark. It's a little toasty, but the crystal, don't know if you can see it, actually looks like it's in good shape. Does it work? That is the question. We'll find out in a moment. And watch number 2, which is actually my favorite, believe it or not, although it's this one has 10 karat gold, rolled gold. Yeah, let's check that out. There you go. Really quite lovely. And this one actually is my favorite. And we have this stretch band bracelet, and we're having a hooker glove snafu. And yes, this reminds me of a scene in the movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with John Candy when he had no money and he was trying to get a hotel room. And Steve Martin pulled out like a really expensive watch and he got a really nice room. And then John Candy, he's like, I have a Casio. And yeah, well, all right, let's take a close up of this one. This one again says, can we see it? Gruen. Aha, Gruen. All right. I don't even really know much about this brand. Can we get a tight squeeze or a tight close-up? Gruen something. And I am blind as a bat. Gruen. Oh my God, my camera is total shit. Gruen Precision. 17 jewels. Swiss. There we go. And the other one is a Gruen. It looks like, is that a Precision? I can't read it, can you? Oh, Gruen Precision. Something jewels on the bottom. Don't know how old these are. Do they work? Well, let me wind them up and see what happens. Okay, I wound them up and I actually played, well, they don't have second hands. As you can see, they do not have second hands. But I wound them up and I placed them to my ear and I hear ticking. Actual ticking. How old are these? Let's do some research. Okay, I'm trying to figure this one out. It's not going to be easy. Let's see. Gruen Precision, 10 karat gold plated. Bezel 17 jewels, unadjusted, Swiss. I don't know what the hell that means. With diamonds. And we have what appears to be diamonds over here. Yes. Very interesting. 150 doll hairs. Alright, so I'm on the eBay listing trying to find out how old this is. Now the person says it whines and ticks, so it doesn't mean that it's working properly and still getting 150 doll hairs. Well, geez Louise. And then I found another one. Don't know if it's similar to our watch. Well, I mean, it is similar, not the same. And this one says Gruen Precision 17 jewels Swiss gold-filled ladies watch tested ticking. But nowhere in the listing does it mention how old it is. Okay, so this one over here has a very, very similar dial to the one on the left. If you look, very similar. How old is it and when was it made? So the seller is calling this a vintage Gruen Precision 17 jewel 10K gold-filled diamond chip women's watch, great condition, $99.99. But when was it made? Oh my goodness, this is like really hard to figure out. And nowhere in the seller's listing does it mention the age. It just says vintage. I mean, I found this one. It really doesn't look like mine. And they're saying this one was from 1960 to 1969. And here we have another listing on eBay. It says Gruen Precision 17 jewel Swiss gold-filled ladies watch tested ticking. The person says it runs for at least 15 minutes. Interesting. And is it similar to mine? I don't know. My goodness. $84.99. Okay, not a bad price for a dumpster dive. Okay, Google rabbit hole time. Gruen Watch Company. I'm trying to figure out how old these suckers are. It was founded in 1894, was in business in 1958, created by Dietrich Gruen, who changed the spelling of his name to Gruen because the letter U with the 2 dots does not exist in English. All right, let's try to find anything that we can about it. Okay. So I have here highlighted because I'm blind as a bat and it helps me to read. So in 1900, the corporate name became D. Gruen and Sons. In 1903, a subsidiary was formed, which was the Gruen watch manufacturing company located in Biel, Switzerland. Interesting. Gruen was one of the first U.S. watch companies to offer basic movements produced in Switzerland in a wide variety of cases and prices, but adjusted, dialed, and cased in the United States. Some of their finest movements were made by Jean Eigler, who later became a business partner of Hans Wilsdorf of Rolex. Oh, interesting. In 1904, the company introduced the very thin pocket watch movement, a new arrangement of components that allowed the movements to be made much thinner. The first Gruen, wow, this is actually really interesting. I didn't realize this. In 1908, the first wristwatches were introduced. These found favor with women buyers, but were not popular with men at the time who considered wristwatches feminine. The company did not return to making wristwatches for men until World War I, when military use made wristwatches acceptable for men to wear. Dietrich died in 1911, and the control passed to his son. In 1917, the company moved to a newly constructed building named Time Hill, located at 401 East McMillan Street in Cincinnati. The building still exists and was designed to look like a medieval guild hall. Really, wow, that's actually beautiful. It says in 1922, the company built the Precision Factory. Okay, in Biel, Switzerland. From that point on, all the company's higher quality movements were manufactured in the new factory. Okay, so now we can start to date the watch. Okay, so we know that in 1917, they moved, and in 1922, they built the Precision Factory. So that's where they got the name Precision from. Now, I see on the side here a 1917 ad for bracelet wristwatches, ladies and men's. Really quite cool. So during the 1940s, and it says it was during and shortly after World War II, that many American companies began to lose market share to Swiss imports. Interesting. Wow. Okay. And what's really cool is during World War II, the Time Hill factory stopped making watches for regular people and instead worked exclusively for the U.S. military, manufacturing gauges and instruments for aircraft, ships, and submarines. The company also made precision gauges used for delicate surgical instruments and for radios and other electric equipment. During World War II, some watches were still manufactured at the Precision Factory in Switzerland and imported. So sadly, the company sold their interest in 1953, and the firm was broken up and sold in 1958. So I was guessing that maybe my watch was made from 1958 all the way down to the 20s. But it seems here that it says that the watch manufacturing business moved to New York under new ownership and the manufacturing was done exclusively in Switzerland. The operation in Biel, which was the Precision Factory, closed its doors in 1977. Okay, very interesting. I'm trying to date this damn watch. Here's one that was made in between 1960 and 1965. And I don't see any others. Let's continue to go down the ruble. I'm losing it. The Google rabbit hole. So the help of ads, old ads, can actually help you to date some of your things. So in 1947, we have a precision watch ad. Let's see if any of the watches in the ad actually matches up to mine. And what a handsome fellow. And let's see, do we see any bracelet watches? And we do. This one being sold for $67.50. Holy cow. And here's another one. This one being sold for $100, but it was called the Curves. And you see how it curves like that? That one came after my type of watch. My type of watch actually sat flat on the wrist, not curved like these ones. So I'm guessing it could be before the 1947 date. So as we can see, the curved design was later. The flat design like mine that rested flat on the wrist was probably earlier. Here's a 1941 ad. Let's check that one out. And it's really cool to see this. Okay, and we see these flat watch faces, not curved. Very interesting. And they were quite expensive for these bracelet ones. These were gold filled, $37.50. I see $33.75. Let's see. I can't read some of the writing because it's very, very small. But we see another bracelet one for 45. Over here, 47.50, and the one on the end being sold at $55. And these are actually gold filled. Yeah, gold filled. Okay, not real gold like mine. Okay, here we go. Let's look at some more of the bracelet ones. These ones being sold for $33, I think. I can't even see that. Looks like 35 maybe. That was actually quite a sum back then in 1941. And here's more bracelet ones. Now here's with the diamond chips being sold for, wow, $165. But these ones are 14 karat. Very interesting. Okay, so we also see precision watches being sold in the 50s as well. Here we go. So let's check this out. What finer gift from a proud father. I guess it was given as graduation presents. Very, very cool. And here we go. So we have a very thin Monica 14 karat gold case, $69.50. We have this one 14 karat gold. Wow, $100. That was some rich bitch, right? Her little daddy gave her a $150 watch. Yeah, that's $150. Holy cow. Let's go into the Wayback Inflation Calculator machine and calculate how much that little rich little bitch, her present was for her graduation. $150 in 1950 is, oh my God, $1,854.85 for a freaking watch. Okay, just for shits and giggles, we saw the other watches being sold like in the $40, $50 price range in the 1940s that weren't gold. Let's see. What? $775.18? Okay, so in 1959, the watches really changed in looks. So I'm guessing mine is from the 40s, maybe early 50s. It's actually really fun to actually look at these old ads. This is 1944, and we have a lady's watch for $39.75. How much was that? Okay, so it was advertised as a gold-filled, case like mine. Let's check it out. $673.07. These watches were not cheap. So here's a 1950 Gruen ad. Okay, so now we're getting an idea. $59.50 for this one, and this is a Curvex design, which actually curved to the wrist. So I'm guessing that mine actually is previous to 1950, but still $39.75, as you can see, was a lot of money. Actually, no, $59.50. Holy cow. And we have this very thin design with a cloth. Yeah, not even like a real gold bracelet. $71.50. And let's check out some more. Here we go. A very thin. $39.75. Really interesting. Here's a 1944 ad for a soldier woman wearing a bracelet watch. Really quite interesting. Nice Gruen watch. The Precision Watch. Gruen watches from $29.75 to $250 with precious stones to $4,000. Price includes federal taxes. Yeah, Uncle Sam, that bastard, always wants your shekels. Okay, so we know now, I'm guessing these watches that I had found in the dumpster were probably made in the 1940s. Okay, so now we went down the Google rabbit hole. We had a discussion. It was story time. And I've come to a conclusion that these were made sometime in the 40s, if not the 50s. Now, I'm going to go with more the 40s because that's what I'm finding. And wow, that is really quite a great find. Oops, one's upside down. Well, not the most expensive of watches or the most valuable, has a really great history. And the fact that these were going to be thrown into the garbage and destroyed and they were saved is really a great story. Who once wore them, I don't know. That old man that died, that his family was throwing his shit out, made me feel really sad. I hope my family never does that to my things, because if they did and there was life after death, I would definitely come back and haunt them. But there you go, two great wristwatches worth at least, I'm going to guess $50 to $100 a piece, found in the garbage. Not bad. They're still ticking, by the way. I can hear them. And I guess I can get them serviced. I can take them to a jeweler, get them serviced, get the faces cleaned, and get them really running really well again. Thanks for watching. See you guys all soon, and so long.